Hey, it's me, Vicky Marie, and I've got some good news today, I think. Well, certainly for Nicholas. Right, we've been following Gypsy Rose Blanchard coming out of prison, haven't we? We've been watching some videos about how she's got married while she was in prison. She's come out, she's doing lots of interviews. She's spending sort of real time with her husband for the first time since they got married. There was no conjugal visits while they were in prison. So she's just free for the very first time, isn't she, after the very sort of distressing story of her childhood and how she was abused by her mother, Dee Dee Blanchard, who had Munchausen's by proxy. So in other words, she was pretending really that Gypsy was ill so that she could get sympathy, get money, so that Gypsy could never leave her, etc. So we've been following that story, and I've mentioned often that because what happened in the end was, as Gypsy got older and the hormones sort of kick in, and she found herself a boyfriend online, and this guy was called Nicolas Goddard, and they met on a Christian dating site and started having an online relationship. Eventually met up. Gypsy's mother, Dee Dee, was not very happy with this because she really just wanted to keep Gypsy, down, really, keep her as if she was ill, for her own purposes, I suppose. So, having said that, there's mixed views on that because Nicholas himself, when he was interviewed, did say that Dee Dee was fine with him, but Gypsy said that she wasn't. But anyway, we won't go into that. The thing I want to talk to you about today, which I think is good news, because all through Gypsy only got an 11-year-long sentence for her part in the murder of her mother, because all this culminated in a plot instigated by Gypsy to murder her mother. And her partner, Nicholas, Gypsy asked him to kill her mother. And they were both very young at the time. Nicholas has some mental health issues. He's autistic, and he had some issues. And anyway, he did the wrong thing. He went along with it. Gypsy bought him the knife. Gypsy planned it all. And Gypsy hid herself in the bathroom. And Nicholas did what Gypsy had asked him to do. And then afterwards, which to me is like quite really distasteful, they then, had sex basically in the same house. Well, poor Dee Dee, as bad as she may have been, nobody deserves to be stabbed 18 times in your own home, in your own bed. There was a different way that could have all been dealt with. But anyway, and Nicholas and Gypsy just went ahead and, enjoyed themselves in the house while Dee Dee was lying dead, stabbed to death. And bear in mind as well, and Gypsy spent some time in the bathroom shaving herself, apparently, with a lady shave. Anyway, it was it's a very bizarre crime. That you just cannot I think the reason that Gypsy got such a light sentence was because of the abuse that she had suffered as she was a child. So I think that must have been, and of course she did not commit the actual act itself, as she keeps telling us. Nicholas did that, but he did it under, at Gypsy's behest. Now, the difference in the sentences is that Nicholas received a life sentence with no possibility of parole, and also an extra 25 years. So the difference between a sort of 11-year sentence that Gypsy received, even though the whole thing was her idea, even though she didn't actually kill her mother, but she knew about all of it. She was there at the time that it happened. Her mother screamed for help, screamed her name, and she did nothing to help. So, there is, and, to me, I don't see why Nicolas got such an extreme sentence, and Gypsy didn't really. I don't understand that, but anyway, that's what happened. So the good thing that's happened, I think, for Nicholas's family, because I've been thinking about Nicholas's family. I also think about Dee Dee. Dee Dee gets forgotten in everything because she's thought of as this devil mother. And of course she was, in many ways, not a nice person. But, nobody, as I say, deserves to be murdered in their own bed. And, there could have been another way of dealing with it. And Dee Dee herself patently was very, very ill, mentally ill. And, I feel like Gypsy's father sort of just could have done more, or the family could have done more. Did people not see what was going on? There's a lot of issues that I have with the fact that Dee Dee is just forgotten completely. And also that Nicolas received such a totally the other extreme sentence as Gypsy. So anyway, we're going to look at this. We're going to look at little news item to see what is happening. So whether it's in the View in the wake of Gypsy coming out of prison, or whether this is something he's been fighting for a long time. Nicolas, who is unrecognizable now from he was just a kid really when he first went to prison, and now he's in his 30s. You can see that he's got some issues, and I expect his family is grateful that an appeal for a new trial is now being filed. And I would hope that the fact that Gypsy is now out, I mean, I just wonder how that must feel for the family, for Nicholas's family, seeing, because obviously Gypsy's making the most of her newfound celebrity. That's what she's been brought up to do, really. So she's being interviewed. She's on every news station. She's on YouTube. She's on Instagram. She's just doing everything. And why shouldn't she? I'm not saying she shouldn't. But what I'm just saying is, how do his family feel to see that with Gypsy, flourishing, and she's come out of prison. She's married. She's telling her story. She's got a book coming out. And there's Nicolas with no prospect. If his sentence stays the same, he's got no prospect of ever coming out of prison. It just seems unfair to me. But and I don't normally have any sympathy for anybody who's actually sent someone off to murdered someone. It's unusual for me to have sympathy, even in cases where people have had a bad upbringing, etc. Murder is wrong, obviously, whatever. But I don't know what it is about Nicolas. I think it's because of his autism and his mental state, and the fact he was so in love with Gypsy. And I do think he was manipulated by Gypsy. And Gypsy knows how to manipulate people because she's learned from her mother, who was a master manipulator. So, and also Gypsy herself did know that she could walk. She managed to find herself a boyfriend. She managed to, she's not, she wasn't totally, unable to sort of function or do things for herself, and she knew it. So she has been brought up as a manipulator. That is, and I do think Nicolas was manipulated by Gypsy, and I'm sure Gypsy was in love with him at the time, and he was certainly so in love with her, you could see. So, and they were young, so, I don't know. I just feel that the two sentences that they received are at odds. Anyway, let's have a look at this.
Wisconsin man serving a life sentence for killing a Springfield woman is hoping for a new trial.
A jury convicted Nicolas Godejohn of murder for the stabbing death of Dee Dee Blanchard in 2015. Francis Watson is live in our newsroom with the latest legal moves. Francis.
Yeah, Paul, Maria, Nicolas Godejohn is serving life without parole plus 25 years for armed criminal action for Dee Dee Blanchard's murder. An appeals hearing last year actually.
So life without parole plus 25 years. So he's never coming out, is he? If it stays the same.
Denied his request to overturn his conviction based on poor representation and a diminished mental capacity. Now he's hoping a panel of 3 judges will reconsider his conviction.
He's hoping
So he appealed it last year and was refused, so he's trying again.
to obtain a new trial.
Nicolas Godejohn confessed to stabbing Didi Blanchard to death in her Springfield home in 2015. In 2018, a Greene County jury found him guilty of first-degree murder. Godejohn was sentenced to life without parole plus 25 years for armed criminal action. Last year, during his conviction appeal hearing, his attorneys didn't argue his innocence.
Okay, I'll admit it. I did actually stab her. I'll admit it.
But rather claimed that Godejohn is not capable of understanding what he did due to his mental capacity, and that his public defenders didn't do enough during his criminal trial.
Mr. Godejohn was alleging that the only reason that he was found guilty in his jury trial was because he had ineffective assistance of trial counsel.
His defense called on a neuropsychologist to try and prove that Gypsy Blanchard, Didi's daughter, put him up to the crime.
I only used the one card that I have over you. Gypsy.
She's set to be released this year after serving less than 10 years for second-degree murder for her role. This week, his current public defender, Tyler Coyle, filed yet another appeal on Godejohn's behalf.
His last trial, he argued that his mental state did not meet the requirements for first-degree murder, and so the jury should have only found him guilty of second-degree murder.
Coyle says it'll be up to a panel of 3 judges to decide if Godejohn will get another day in court.
If he were to get a new trial, then it would start all the way over, and there wouldn't be any previous finding of first degree or second degree. It would just have to go back to a new trial.
Now, there is no time frame in which a decision could be.
My personal opinion is, I don't know whether they should, I don't know what the best sentence would be. Maybe with a chance of parole, that's it. Maybe some kind of chance at parole for him. Because I really do think that Nicolas, if he hadn't have met Gypsy, he probably would never have murdered anyone. Whereas I do think that Gypsy, as far as her mother was concerned, if it wouldn't have been Nicolas, it would have been someone. Now, you saw briefly that video of Gypsy in the wig that she sent him. She was aware of that she was fine. She was sending him sort of sexual videos, images. These will all come up, I suppose, at the trial. So this is why I think I feel for Nicolas. I do feel like he's been manipulated. I feel if it wouldn't have been him, it would have been somebody else. And Gypsy sort of struck lucky in a way. I think that she found someone like Nicolas who had these issues and he went along with it. There's, many men, even young men, etc., would not have gone along with it. And Gypsy found him and it's worked out for Gypsy eventually now. But what about Nicolas? And when we were watching the interview with Gypsy, and she was asked about him, he said, what was it? She said, should I wish him well on his journey? Well, what sort of, she said, that's right, she said, I've paid my dues and he's paying his dues or something like, I thought she was very cold about him, really, because she could have said it's a shame that he's still in prison, or, I hope he manages to get a retrial, or, just something. She just doesn't care, really, because she's got her life now. Do get this feeling, with her that she wasn't the victim. She is a victim. Gosh, I feel like I'm being awful. I don't mean to be awful, because she obviously was a victim. She didn't choose the mother that she got, and but I think as she got older, when she got older and wise enough to find a boyfriend and organise a murder, she could have organised better escaping from her mum, like speaking to her dad, going herself to if she could contact her boyfriend privately, she could have contacted doctors privately, she could have contacted the police privately. So that's where I am with Gypsy.
He made the court can take as much time as necessary to consider his requests. Reporting live in the newsroom, I'm Frances Watson.
Thank you, Frances.
There you go. So yeah, well, that
Welcome to my scientifically informed insider.
Showed that, but yeah, a lot of people feel the same way. I personally think she did manipulate him. And although I understand that her mental state won't have been brilliant because of where she was, the childhood that she'd had. I think as she got older and she started becoming more aware, and she became aware enough that she could, maintain a relationship with Nicolas privately from her mum, I think she could have definitely escaped by different means. And from what I can gather from seeing him being interviewed, he tried to persuade her of that. So anyway, I thought I'd just let you know, because we have been following it, and I'll keep following the case. And if I hear anything about Nicolas, I hope he does get some sort of, leniency. Not, he served so many years already, maybe another 10 years and he could get parole. I just hope he gets some chance of something, because I do feel that it's unfair that he has got no chance at the moment of ever coming out of prison, whereas there's Gypsy having her best life. It must be very galling, not only for him but for his mother and father. It must hurt. But anyway, so remember to live and love wisely, carefully. I'll see you as always real soon in the next video, and until then, may your God go with you. Bye.